I'm pretty sure Jordan's going to join us.
So interesting, because I stay in the picture even though there's an image in the background. It's so weird.
Yeah, they've improved on it too, because initially people's heads would it was almost like ghost-like, but now it's gotten much better. And yeah, if you invest in a green screen, it even improves it.
Wow.
Of course, this is exactly how they faked the moon landing 40 years ago. You know that.
Really?
Green. It was all green screen.
Yeah. And other conspiracy theories.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay.
We discovered when we were doing a lot of the kids' video stuff that if you get a green plastic tablecloth, it works really well for a green screen.
Yeah, it's pretty basic technology and how effective it really is. And the reason I'm talking about is I have a green screen here that I bought online. It's only like $10 and basically just a green sheet. But it's very effective.
We just went to the dollar store and bought a bunch of them. A bunch of the green plastic tablecloths. They work wonderful.
Leave it to you folks in theater to find out a different way.
We got no money. We got to do something.
The ultimate improvisers.
All right. Well, should we get started?
Yeah, I think we can get started. We may have a few more join us. Let's see. We've got. I'll let you do.
You want to do your housekeeping before we?
Yeah, I just want to take a moment. Welcome everybody. Nice to see everybody and talk green screens. I just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 25. Remind people to mute yourselves during the meeting unless you are speaking. The chat function for the meeting is disabled. All chats will go directly to me. Please do your best. I know it's not easy, but to remember to state your name when you speak so that anybody that might be participating remotely can hear. And I think that's it. I'll turn it back to Jerry.
Okay, thanks. We'll call the meeting to order. It looks like 1:04 p.m. And we'll do roll call. Let's see, should I do, I don't like doing it off the video. So let's see, we don't have Christina today, correct?
Right, Christina said she couldn't make it.
All right, Joshua. I can see his name.
Here.
Excellent. Marlo?
Here.
Denise?
Here.
Mary?
Here.
James?
I haven't seen James.
Sarah? Don't see
Sarah.
And Jordan? So don't see Jordan. Dina?
Here.
And Daniel?
Here.
All right, and I'm Jerry, I'm here as well. So we do have enough, correct? What do we have, 7?
You have 7, so you have a quorum, so you're okay there.
Okay. Well, I think our first order of business is to kick me out of my position here. So we have at our annual retreat every year, we elect our officers. We elect the chair, vice chair, secretary, and I don't know, is the TGT an elected or we just appoint? Well, whatever.
Basically just, I guess it would be elected if there was more than one person interested, but it's also really just making sure we have that liaison, and Mary's done that 2 years running. She's definitely proved herself more than once in that realm.
And she is not doing it again.
That was my next question.
I have a question. What is involved in being the TGT tax liaison?
So the TGT Grant Advisory Board is basically a working board that reviews and updates the guidelines for the Transient Guest Tax Grant Program. And then so that'll happen during the spring in lieu of COVID craziness. And then, each year we implement the grant process, which basically starts in the fall and typically runs through December, where each of the TGT Grant Advisory Board members reviews the applications, hears 3-minute presentations from the applicants, and then scores all of the different grant applications and sends that back to my office. And then actually they just had their meeting last week where they reviewed all those applications, reviewed their scores, and made their award recommendation, which then will go to the City Commission for approval.
So the season is from fall to spring?
The grant process starts fall and goes through December. In this case, it went into January because of COVID, but the board will start meeting sometime in the spring to review the guidelines before that process. So it's, Mary, what would you, because of COVID, it hasn't happened ideally, but I would say generally March through December is kind of the cycle typically.
Yeah, it's not particularly onerous until you get to the grants. I would like to say I think it's really important that we get good representation of the arts on that advisory board, because most of the board is made up of representatives from the hotel industry, and they are very concerned naturally about getting people to stay in their hotel. So they are very inclined to look favorably on organizations applying for grants that will bring in large groups of people. And those typically have been sports programs. So the grants that come in range all the way from the Busker Fest to a for-profit basketball camp, say. There were 30 this year, and it's a hugely divergent group of applications. And I've been on and off that group for the last few years, and it tends to swing backwards and forwards between favoring the, if I can say this, Porter, between not favoring, but looking very favorably at youth camps coming into town. And then the pendulum swings to more of the cultural arts things. So nothing is everybody is eligible. It's just that I personally think it's really important that the arts and culture organizations maintain a strong presence.
How many people were on that advisory board this past year?
So Denise, I'll answer that in 1 second. But before that, I just want to show I'm assuming you can all see my screen. So the goals of the Transient Guest Tax program currently are here on the webpage, which is lawrenceks.org/CMO/TGT-grants. The Transient Guest Tax Grant Program will provide funding for specific events which meet the following goals. Demonstrate a measurable economic benefit, including enhancing the cultural economy or travel tourism economy, create additional transient guest tax and sales tax, and enhance Lawrence's character and reputation for tourist activities and demonstrate pull of regional visitors. So more information is available on this page for anybody that might be interested, and this actually summarizes the entire program. It even includes the grant applications that the board reviewed. So all that information is available to anybody who wants to review it, just as an FYI. And then as far as the board goes, hang on, let me stop my share. And the TGT grant board.
I want to say 7.
I should know this, but I'm on too many boards, and I don't want to speak incorrectly. So there's the representative from the city, the Cultural Arts Commission. There's a representative from Explore Lawrence, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So there's 7 board members altogether.
And the majority of them are from the hotel industry.
Sue Shea at this point is also, we do have the Cultural Arts Commission representative, and then we also have somebody from the culture, arts and culture business realm, so to speak, or representing that as well. But then, yeah, several people represent hoteliers or other businesses. Does that help, Denise?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to share that.
I do have one more question about the application itself. How lengthy is it?
The application?
Yes.
How lengthy is it?
It's
not, I don't think it's too onerous, really. It's fairly straightforward. The main thing is the budget. People can only apply for up to 15%, is it, of their program, or maximum 10% of the grant amount, which is $12,000. So the maximum amount anybody can apply for is $12,000. They can use it for a variety of things, but they're really, the preference is to use it for marketing efforts.
Okay.
Jerry, you're muted. I do it too. Everybody does it.
Denise, do I hear you volunteering?
Well, I'm actually interested, but that of course means I'm not going to be chair next year if I apply for this.
Should we start with the chair then, Porter? I just thought since we had, you know, maybe somebody on the line for the advisors, we would start there. But I guess we can go in order. Is it appropriate?
I think that's wise, and you can just
for me to call. Is it appropriate for me to call for nominations, or do I just like step aside? Or
no, I think given that you can't run, it is very appropriate for you to call for nominations or volunteers and go from there.
Okay, let's do that. Well, let's start out with nominations. Anyone like to nominate someone? Anyone interested in volunteering? If nobody answers this, then I'm going to make a nomination.
I would be willing to do it if nobody else is interested in doing it. I like the structure of running meetings, so I'm happy to play that part.
All right. Anyone else?
It sounded like Denise might be interested, maybe.
In what, the chair's position?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No, thank you.
That's pretty clear.
All right. We have a willing volunteer. Any other folks interested in that responsibility for 2022?
Could you explain what you do as a chair for this particular committee?
I do nothing, Denise. I run these meetings and try to make them as entertaining as possible. No, you communicate with Porter, obviously, on meeting related issues. Porter does a great job of sending out kind of a cheat sheet before each meeting. And you basically follow the boards, you follow the activities that the different subgroups may be involved in. Sometimes you have to represent arts and culture in Lawrence for dedications of art pieces. What else? Sometimes when we ran some surveys, you have to, you participate in that. Showing up when appropriate for like the outdoor sculpture exhibit dedications, those sorts of things. Some past chairs have been more involved than I was in the roundtable. The roundtable schedule just doesn't work for my work schedule. So someone else, usually several other people take that. But yeah, that's what it is. I would not call it, I think it's probably more time consuming in non-COVID times. I've done it for 2 years and I've done it 100% during COVID. And you all will remember, I don't think we had meetings the first 3 months maybe of the pandemic. Part of that was because I don't think the city had spooled up the Zooming capability yet. And, we were all sort of just getting caught up with that. So I would suspect that post-pandemic, whatever that means, that there might be more, opportunities or obligations, like Phoenix Awards is another thing that you show up for. And, so anyway, those are the things.
Yeah, I would concur that COVID has certainly shifted things pretty drastically, but basically the chair is the voice of the Cultural Arts Commission, something we haven't had recently, but in past, I know that the chair was expected to show up to a couple of city commission meetings when we had some projects or things that were contentious, to voice the opinion of the board and that type of thing. So, and then everything else that Jerry pointed out as well. And I would suspect that with the strategic plan, we'll see things shifting a little bit throughout the coming year as we move into these different areas, since this relates to unmistakable identity, which is in some ways consistent with what we've been doing, talking about parks and recreation and that type of thing as well with their board.
All right, so any other volunteers before we have a vote? Or do we need to have a vote if we just have one volunteer?
I think we need to vote in case somebody for some reason thought that Daniel was going to try to do something nefarious.
All right, I'll do a roll call style thing. So yep. Is this the thing where we make a motion and then vote on it, or?
Yeah, I would go through the process and actually somebody should make a motion.
Okay.
And then vote.
I move that we elect Daniel chair of the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission for 2022.
Second that.
All right, now we'll do the roll call. Denise?
Yes.
Daniel?
Well, I will abstain in voting for myself.
Okay. I wouldn't think any less of you if you did. Dina?
In favor. Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Marlo?
Yes.
Joshua?
Aye.
And Jerry, aye. It would be unanimous.
Congratulations. Thank you, Daniel.
Yep. Thank you for being willing to serve. Okay. Number 2 on my agenda is for secretary. I don't know why vice chair is third, but secretary carries with it the privilege. Is that what you would call it? That's the minutes of keeping the minutes, correct, Porter? Correct.
That's their primary job, is to take minutes. Christina did a great job, and Jordan's been doing a great job. And just so everybody knows, if for some reason somebody couldn't attend the meeting, we as staff will take minutes. We have the video. So it's not something that, obviously we definitely lean on that person a lot, but it's not desperate that they attend every single meeting. Just FYI.
All right, so any volunteers for the role of secretary? Jordan, are you willing to and interested in continuing in that role?
I'm willing, but unfortunately I'm balancing 3 jobs now, which is very different from where I was this time last year. So I won't be able to continue the minutes. And actually, I don't know if Porter mentioned, but he's been taking care of the minutes the last several months when I can't. So first of all, thank you, Porter. But yeah, no, so I won't be able to continue in that role.
Okay.
That's fine. Thanks, Jordan, for speaking honestly. And, we're losing at least 3 seats, potentially 4 members. So we'll have other people coming on board. So there may be somebody out of the new members that might be interested in that role too.
Should we then, in the absence of a volunteer for that, which I don't know, maybe if we pause long enough, somebody will get uncomfortable and raise their hand, or maybe someone could volunteer to cover that until the new folks are on board. Do you think they'll be on board by February meeting?
I would hope. I'm not sure where that stands at this point and how quickly the new mayor is appointing people.
Yeah. So again, we'll ask for someone to volunteer for that position permanently out of this group. But in the absence of anyone being willing to do that, would anyone volunteer to do it until we get maybe our board seats filled a little further?
Well, am I wrong in understanding that this meeting, the retreat minutes and I believe February are still me, right?
Technically, this meeting, if you can do it, that would be fabulous. And then,
okay.
And February would be sort of up in the air, depending on if we have somebody else who can do it. So yeah, I think if you don't mind doing today's minutes, and I'm tracking the information as well.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we revisit this in February, that would be fine.
And Porter, this video will be available on YouTube, right? Because all of our meetings are?
Correct.
Perfect.
Yes.
Wasn't sure if that was different because it's a retreat. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So I can cover this month's meeting and February then. So whoever volunteers would just be March till next January.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. So can we just want to postpone that until February, that appointment?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Any volunteers for vice chair?
So who was the vice chair this past year?
Marlo, right?
No. So last year, Sarah Curry was elected vice chair. Okay. Unfortunately, like Jordan, Sarah's life shifted and she had job changes and stuff like that. So she wasn't able to attend a lot of meetings.
Okay.
And so actually, excuse me, they were not able to attend a lot of meetings, and they, I believe, are moving. So I'm not sure what their future holds as far as their participation in this board meeting.
What's entailed in being a vice chair?
I would say primarily it's just identifying somebody who would likely step up and be the chair the following year.
Okay.
So if somebody's interested in being chair but doesn't feel comfortable in that role currently, it's a great opportunity to take a little more time, support the new chair, and kind of learn the ropes. I think as Jerry's pointing out, he's been on this board for what, 80 years?
Almost 900.
Yeah. And so he's seen a lot. And frankly, that experience is helpful. So just, gaining experience, that type of thing. And nothing's written in stone. Everybody understands people's lives change, but it's an opportunity for somebody who might be interested in the future to sort of step up and learn the ropes.
Okay, I can do that.
All right. Any other volunteers for that, or? Okay.
Thanks, Denise.
Yeah. Do I need to move? I'll make a motion that we elect Denise as vice chair of the commission. And let's see, we'll do a roll call vote. So Daniel.
And you need a second.
Oh, we need a second. Sorry.
Daniel B. Smith, I will second that motion.
Well, maybe I didn't learn so much in 9 years on this. I can't even do a vote. All right, here we go. Daniel.
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Arlo.
Aye.
Joshua.
Aye.
Jordan.
Aye.
And Jerry, aye.
Excellent. Congratulations, Denise. Thank you.
Was kind of I think it was kind of a move to not do the TGT advisory board liaison, but that she was so interested in earlier. It's a sidestep.
I would volunteer that I think that person could conceivably do both. I don't think the chair position consumes that much time necessarily. So if one was interested, one could consider both.
I wouldn't have an issue with that. Yeah, and having been a former vice chair, I can tell you that I think it's about 2 things a year, right? I mean, depending on who your chair is, the chair may call and say, "Hey, I can't. Can you run the meeting?" And so. All right, that does bring us to the TGT Grant Advisory Board liaison spot. And do we have any volunteers for that?
I would be happy to do that, but I am an applicant year after year. And so I would hate there to be a conflict of interest.
Good point, and I didn't speak to that. So Mary also, Theodore Lawrence applies for that. And so what I do is that Mary, if there's any discussion about her grant in particular, then she leaves the room. And so we've done that in the past where Mary just literally leaves the room or leaves the Zoom meeting for any discussion. In this case, that wasn't an issue. And then Mary also does not submit a score for her application. And so then we have a way of basically it's an average thing that we put into, so her event still gets scored, but it's not her score, because we obviously have people that would have that, potentially have that conflict of interest. So it doesn't exclude you from serving on the TGT Grant Advisory Board.
I do have one question. Mary, how many applicants were there last year?
There were 30.
Wow. Okay.
And to Mary's point, just to be, completely transparent, it's not an apples and apples kind of situation. You have events like the gravel grinder bike race. You have Free State Festival, you have Theater Lawrence holiday show. It's a wide range of events, and then many different types of youth tournaments, volleyball, basketball, etc. So it's interesting. I would, Mary, you can chime in. I think it's actually very interesting to see the different types of events. We also have a powwow event that's been in the TGT mix for a while. So it's a range of stuff. The Lead Center has their event. So it's a wide range of things. You can, like I said, you can look at the grant applications on that page if you want to.
I'll
I have a
echo
question.
Porter. It's a very interesting snapshot of all of the things that happen in Lawrence and a wide variety of things. And I think the way the scoring matrix is set up right now, it is an interesting way to do it because it gives different amounts of points for different things. So it's time consuming if you really care about it. But I think it's very worthwhile.
Okay.
And what they've tended to do the last couple of years is give percentages of the grant money available. There's never enough grant money. So this year, I think, was the most extreme where everybody got something, but depending on where the ranking was, people got more or less of what they applied for.
I have a question. Can I step down as the vice chair and put in my application for the TGT tax grant advisory board?
You can, and as I said, I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Okay.
So you could also stay vice chair. As Jerry pointed out, there's usually not a lot of response. It's really up to you how much responsibility. The biggest thing would be to chair the meeting in the absence of the chair.
Okay.
So I do believe you can do both.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Marlo, do you still want to do this?
I'm fine leaving that to you because it might be cleaner because I always apply every year. So I'm fine to, in conflict of interest issues.
How do you feel about?
I appreciate Denise, your interest, and I would encourage it because I do agree that we haven't had any problems, knock on wood, but it would be nice to have a completely objective representative.
Well, it sounds like a really fascinating committee to be on. So, it's kind of nice to see what's going on across town beyond this commission assignment.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay.
So Denise, you want to retain the vice chair as well?
I don't think I'm not sure. But Marla would be a great vice chair.
I agree. I was thinking the same thing.
This is Daniel B. Smith. If it changes anybody's decision, I'm very boring and I do not miss a lot of meetings. So as a vice chair, you should not expect to have to chair many of these meetings.
Okay.
All right, but what I'm hearing is, Denise, you prefer to relinquish your vice chair position and volunteer for the TGT Grant Advisory Board liaison. Okay.
I believe that's what I'm saying.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, I move that we elect Denise, the TGT Grant Advisory Board liaison. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Daniel.
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Marlo.
Aye.
Joshua.
Yes.
And Jordan.
Aye.
And I also for Jerry.
Great. Thanks, Denise. Thanks, everybody.
And I make a motion that we elect Marlo vice chair of the commission.
I think you have to nominate her first and see.
No, No, we do not. We just make a motion and we go. All right. I nominate her for the position of vice chair.
I'll second that.
Now can we vote?
I think we need to hear from Marlo and whether or not she's agreeable or oh, there you go. That's the
Han
nomination.
Daniel's very nice commitment to attend meetings, and I won't have to fill in as much. I heartily accept.
Excellent.
Okay. Can we vote now?
So you made the nomination, but then you would also move that she would be move that she could be the next vice chair, and we'll take Mary's second to the nomination as the second to the motion. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah. So for the second time, I move that we vote to make Marlo vice chair of the commission.
DLB Smith, I will second that motion.
Okay. And then call roll.
Okay. Denise.
I support.
Daniel.
Aye.
Dina.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Joshua.
Yep.
And Jordan.
Aye.
And Jerry is aye as well.
Very good. Great. Thanks, Marlo. And thanks, everybody.
Is this where I turn the meeting over to Daniel? That wouldn't be fair.
Technically, you're still on the hook through today.
Okay. I think somebody tried that on me. I think Kate Deneen tried that, but
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Kate missed the last meeting, so it fell to your responsibility.
I mean, I could just log off.
You could.
Log off into the sunset. No. Of course not. So I forget, Porter, were we going to review the agenda and try to prioritize it, or should we just go down the list?
I think we can either way, really, if anybody has any strong opinions, but I think for the sake of everybody, since we have a range of experience on the board, maybe I should go through the agenda items and then you all can determine which ones you want to focus on. The budget is fairly straightforward. If that's agreeable, I can show the budget as we have it currently. Let me do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so the budget remained the same as last year, all the TGTs. So you are all, the Art Commission is funded through the Transient Guest Tax Grant Program, or sorry, not grant program, through Transient Guest Tax Fund. Wow, that is hard to say apparently. And so currently your typical budget is this: $20,000 for the outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition. The community arts grants is $25,000. The Phoenix Award is $3,000. And then there's miscellaneous, $1,000. Use that for membership with Americans for the Arts and printing where appropriate. And if we have food for the outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition, that type of thing. Now for next year, because of COVID, as you all remember, the outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition was not as well funded. And actually we had fewer artist supplies, so we didn't spend that money. The community arts grants wasn't able to be implemented, and the Phoenix Awards. So what we're looking at is a budget adjustment that would allow us to keep at least the $25,000 from last year, in addition to the $25,000 from this year's budget, as well as $3,000 for both the Phoenix Awards last year and this year. Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition, I'm not quite sure if it would be the same amount, just because we are spending some of that money, because we do have 3 artists on board for that. So I don't know how much that'll be. I have to go back and revisit that. We can go back and ask for a budget adjustment and see if we can carry that money over, since the Transient Guest Tax Grant Fund has recovered fairly well with everything that happened. Now, that said, I have to add the caveat. Obviously, we're in the midst of this Omicron, biggest increase we've seen throughout this whole process. So I can't guarantee anything, but that's the intention at this point.
So is that is that 97? Is that a real number that might be available to us? Somewhere
near that. Again, the Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition would probably not be that much money. I have to look at that and see where we are. I think that we're spending about $5,000 from last year, so that this may get reduced to 15 or 10,000, but we'll certainly put an amount in there and ask the commission would have to approve that money being transferred from last year to this year. So we have to do a formal budget amendment adjustment for this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But that's what we agreed to last year, and fingers were crossed. The COVID was winding down to some degree, and I don't know that we're seeing yet if things currently are affecting hotel stays or not.
Jerry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is Dina Ahmad. So just to clarify here, I think I'm tracking, but we're asking for basically the money that we didn't spend last year to be allocated in addition to the 48,000 new on the 2022 budget. Is that correct? For a total of 97,000. Am I tracking that right?
Yeah, but I want to be really careful now that don't get fixated on this number, because this number is likely not going to be. Let me do this. I'm uncomfortable saying that's going to be 20,000 because we have spent some money. So we would be asking for $25,000 from 2021 to be added to the 2022 budget, and we would be asking for $3,000 to be added to the 2022 budget, and then some portion of what we haven't spent moved over here. I would say that, and that they can't give us money so the Transient Guest Tax Fund is a tricky fund. You can't use money that isn't available. And that money all comes from hotel stays. That's what we were talking about earlier. Right. So they may say, yes, you can do that, but there may not be funds available. So I just want to be really careful and clear that this is not automatic. The first step is we would go back and make a proposal to the City Commission and ask that they approve that request. And then after the request is made, as much money as possible would be transferred, but it may not be the full amount. I just want to be really clear there.
Thank you for that clarification. Thanks, Porter.
Yeah, thanks.
Porter, Jerry here. Do we need to, we don't have to vote on this in this meeting though, right? We're just reviewing the budget for.
This is your budget as approved. So your current budget is that 49,000. And then I am planning to, we did discuss this last year, and I am planning to do the budget adjustment request to the City Commission. So you don't have to take any action. This is really just to give you information about where we stand at this point. Just so you have that awareness, and that the budget is geared for these programs.
Great, thanks. Well, hopefully that'll work out.
And let me add too, I think this is important. This is Porter Arneal. I just want to add that we have the Art and Culture Crossings program as well, which I am using some of the Outdoor Downtown Sculpture funds in a combination, collaborative sort of effort, or symbiotic, I guess would be a better way to say that. I won't be using a ton of that, but we may need to use some of that money to match the grant from the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission. And then we also have the NEA grant. So we have another entire grant program that we're going to be talking about as part of this agenda as well. So we have two other extraneous programs, if you will, just to be aware of as well, that weren't budgeted per se, but we're certainly doing it through a grant receipt and then the NEA receipt as well.
Great.
Porter, this is Mary. How much is the NEA grant?
$150,000. It has to be re-granted to arts and culture nonprofits.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any further questions about the budget before we move on to review our mission and goals and the city's strategic plan? All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the webpage here. Bear with me a second. Mr. Chair, this is Porter O'Neill again. As I think this through, just trying to think of the best way to approach this. I don't think it would be fruitful for the board to actually, review let me show where they are. So let me do that. Bear with me a sec. And then we can talk about moving forward.
Yeah, because I agree with you. I think some of the agenda items that we have, there's probably no new information in the mission and goals. But the other things like the grants and so forth that we have in front of us, we should definitely make time for that.
So just as a reminder for everybody, you all have a web page that is here. This is under the city manager's office currently, and this includes the Cultural Arts Commission, Sister Cities, Final Fridays, the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study, the cultural plan, and then obviously contact information. So there is the cultural plan here, and then the Cultural Arts Commission outlines all the different things that the board does and includes this orientation packet, which will need to be updated. But this has the background of the commission and everything there that I think all of you have seen at different times. So this is available for review, and I'll have to update all this information now that we're making changes here. But I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Does that make sense to everybody? And then let me do this. I'm not sure how to do it.
Hang on one second, Porter. We did update our mission last year, right? I mean, I think didn't we do some aligning of the text to reflect the different plans? Anyway,
I don't know that ever was ever solidified. I think again, okay. COVID was so wacky that I don't believe that ever formally occurred.
Because I remember we wrote some text for it.
I think we started the conversation, but I don't think it ever was finalized.
So, well, the minutes from this meeting will reflect that, and if somebody wants to pick that up, I believe the way I remember it was that we were talking about the 3 plans or however many plans we have or whatever, and there was some energy around trying to make our goals, mission and goals, reflect, those plans or whatever is how I remember it.
And this is Porter O'Neill again. I would suggest that in revisiting anything at this point, the wisdom would be to, focus on the city's strategic plan. And just to remind everybody, so here's the web page for this, which is just lawrenceks.org/strategic-plan. And if you scroll down, there's actually, we have the booklet, overview documents, and the scorecard is here. Basically, this goes through the background, the mission, vision, and the organizational values. And we have 5 outcome areas, which I think several of you are familiar with. Unmistakable identity seems to be the place where arts and culture tends to be the focus. Strong, welcoming neighborhoods, safe and secure, which is mostly fire and police related. Prosperity and economic security. Some of you have worked with me. Britt Crumcano is working on a city economic development strategic plan, which is including discussion about arts and culture as well. And then connected city, which is more along the lines of infrastructure and that type of thing. And then there's a citywide progress indicator. Then there's a commitment areas. Community engagement is being overseen by my office and me. Efficient and effective processes. So these are the things that are informing those outcomes. So basically all these things are informing the outcomes of the strategic plan. Equity and inclusion, sound fiscal stewardship, engaged and empowered teams, and environmental sustainability. So that's really a nutshell of what the strategic plan is all about. I think, an outcome of this meeting, given 1, COVID, and 2, the strategic plan and other changes that are occurring, would be to determine committees that might want to focus on these different areas. Because obviously time is limited. You only have 11 meetings conceivably. You certainly can meet more often if you want to, and those committees can meet. But I also know that we've done that in the past to a range of success. In some cases, some really good things have happened. In other cases, because of the nuttiness of COVID, things have sort of fallen by the wayside.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that and for reminding us of what we had talked about. You mentioned committees. I don't see that on our agenda, and we sort of collapsed the committees, but is that something that we should look at?
Yes, I think so. And I think in the past, we've had a governance group, a strategic group, and a programming group, which is one way to go. But as you just said, I feel like moving forward, it's much more effective if the committees are more task oriented. Mm-hmm. And, truthfully, just to be really honest, you have 1 year in your current role. And obviously some of you will continue, but basically the focus is on the next year. As I said, you have 11 standing meetings each month. So part of it is prioritizing according to realistic interest and goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, I don't think anybody's really had a good opportunity to take a step back, look at the Cultural Arts Commission's goals and objectives, along with the cultural plan, and how does all this tie back to the city's strategic plan? That's kind of a heavy lift, honestly.
Yeah. So go ahead, Marla.
I was just going to echo what Porter was saying. I feel more effective doing task-related duties because I feel like the drive that I feel is that we have this money on the table that didn't get spent because of COVID. And I just want to make sure no matter what happens with Omicron or, what's going on in the world, that we get that money out the door. And we have this great opportunity with the NEA grant. And the more that we can be engaged to boots on the ground, reaching out to arts organizations and just get that money spent, get timelines going, I feel better in that role than just talking about a mission or a goal and just talking about ideas. I feel like a little bit of time pressure and just saying, like, can we get committees going that might be like, hey, let's take care of the Phoenix Awards this year. Let's take care of the community arts grants this year. Let's take care of outreach or, those things instead of just the broad strokes of strategic or cultural plan, which are great when we have that opportunity. But I think like I just feel like a little bit of a deadline or a time crunch pressure to just get things going and off the ground again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember in the past, you know, Mary and myself and others sitting in a conference room working the Phoenix Awards, how we were going to do, you know, food, flowers, alcohol, you know, all the different things. And I'm sure we didn't have a committee set up just for that, but I think that we were a subcommittee to one of the bigger committees. And, you know, I mean, that was a roll up your sleeves and sit down around a table and, you know, knock all that stuff out. And we're for sure not doing that the last few years. So, I don't know. I suppose that's probably the excuse me. We have the one committee that overlooks the awards. Did we roll the awards and grants and all that into a single committee? Which, if we did, that's fine. It would be on that committee then to break out, to either do all of them, you know, as that committee, or to break out, you know, folks to do the Phoenix and other things. I mean, it's you guys' commission going forward, but.
This is Marlo. I would vote for separating those because I feel like those are such large tasks. You know, I think like, especially because we've gone, I don't know, has it been 2 or 3 years without the community arts grants? And I feel like maybe a committee that focused on that and this NEA grant and just getting as many people aware of this opportunity and just having a little bit more community outreach in that one. Then the Phoenix Awards is this whole other animal. Like they don't feel quite as connected, I think, as they might have in the past.
Yeah, I agree.
Smith. Oh,
go ahead, Dana.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Dana B. Smith. I definitely hear what you're saying, Marlo. I kind of feel like, you know, we just looked over the budget, and in a way, you know, looking at the budget, that kind of might inform what how we break things down. You know, the budget has line items for different things. The Phoenix Award is its own line item there. So I think having the Phoenix Awards be its own committee, having the granting be its own committee, outdoor sculpture exhibition, I think we could use that budget as sort of a rough framework to decide how we break things down.
And then do you all think, just, you know, sort of spitballing here, I mean, we have these new grant, you know, things as well, and those are large, right? We had 150K on the one. So maybe that's another group to set up to sort of, you know, make that go.
I think the ODSE one could be connected to the murals. I know Denise has been pretty passionate about looking at our mural guidelines. We've been so inundated with mural requests. So that seems like a natural public art committee fit, which I think we may have had in the past, where it was ODSE and murals, and any kind of like that transit hub had a public art component. I think those to me make sense, but I like the idea of the grants being separate from the Phoenix Awards.
A question as staff, this is Porter Arneal. You know, we have the community arts grants. If all goes well, that would be $50,000 that could be granted. We have a program in place for that, but Marlo, as you pointed out, we haven't implemented it, and I'm stunned, but I guess it has been 2 years. As I remember, actually, we were just about to do that program in 2020 and then had to cancel it. And then we weren't able to do it last year because the funds weren't available. So that's that takes staff time. And then the NEA grant is something we've never done before. So that's going to take extra effort to figure out how that's going to be structured and implemented as well. So each of these becomes something that would be invaluable to have assistance from the board. And I know you guys have been working on the NEA. I really appreciate that, looking into some of because obviously there's very specific requirements on that as well.
So do we want to use this meeting to maybe put some names in boxes for boards? or group, whatever, separate groups.
I think that makes sense.
I'm just trying to think about from a process perspective. Do we have, Porter, do you have your, like where you could put your hands on it, the current boards with their members on it?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand current. You mean the current
Using
committees?
the wrong, yeah, committees, sorry.
You know, I just realized as I was looking at this, I started to think of that. And honestly, because of COVID, it all has really pretty much fallen apart.
Okay.
So we haven't really been doing that. So I think at this point, and another factor that we have to be aware of is that 3 of you are going off the board as of the end of this meeting. And then, as I said, so we have those 3 seats plus potentially another seat as well. So there may be 4 people coming on. So I don't want to force the hand of the commission going forward, so to speak. But I think that if today we can come up with something of a game plan and be specific in assigning roles according to interest, excuse me, that would be a good step moving forward. And that's the next on the agenda is the 2022 priorities in the project. So, you know, at this point, we have the Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition, the Phoenix Awards, which if we stick to plan, this would be selecting an artist this year and then implementing the Phoenix Awards next year. The community arts grants, which, you know, that has a method in place. So we have that in place. The National Endowment for the Arts grants, that's a much bigger challenge, frankly. And if you want to review the mural guidelines, that would be another thing that's been on the docket, so to speak, for a while.
D.L.B. Smith, yeah, to me, from all this conversation, it sounds like we're looking at 4 committees. I think other people have suggested this, that mural review should be folded in with outdoor sculpture exhibition as a public art committee. So it sounds like we're looking at community art grant, the NEA, or the public art, which is outdoor sculpture exhibition and mural review, and then the Phoenix Awards as 4 separate committees. I think that's what I'm hearing. And I would like to officially say that we could, yeah, I agree. It doesn't make sense to kind of like lock those in right now, but I think it would be a good opportunity for people to go ahead and say if they're interested in any of those 4 or multiple of them. And we can kind of get that. And then maybe at the next meeting, and maybe with new members even, we could actually determine who's going to be on which committee.
And I would even go a step further and come up with a schedule and game plan for each of those committees to come back to the Art Commission with specific, results of whatever progress they're making.
D.L.B. Smith, well, I will go ahead and say that I'm interested in continuing to be involved with outdoor sculpture exhibition and murals with the public art. I'm also happy to serve on another committee as well. I don't know if we want to try and limit how many committees individual members are on, just not to overload anybody. But I'd be happy to continue doing public art, which I've been involved with a little bit, and then potentially be on either the CAG or the NEA committee as well.
I have a question, kind of comment. Since I'm working with Marlo on the NEA grant, so that would be included in that committee that Daniel's talking about. Am I tracking?
Yeah, the NEA grant would be its own committee, I think. And I think that's
committee.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be under the public art committee that Daniel's talking about?
No.
Okay.
This is Dina Amont. So I had volunteered for the public art committee and would be happy to continue on that. I think we maybe only had one meeting this past year, but I'm also very happy to be on a different committee wherever I might be needed most. So I can be flexible.
And actually, Dina, that got me thinking, if agreeable, the Phoenix Awards kind of, if we stick to the plan, and I don't want to speak for the board, but this year would be selecting an artist and having them create the awards for next year, which is more aligned with public art, interestingly enough. So that would be under there. And I think in the past you've expressed interest in that. So I just offer that too.
Yeah, that would be, this is Dina again. Yeah, that would be fine with me.
Okay. Great, thanks.
This is Mary. I think probably of those, the only one I would appropriately be on would be the Phoenix, because I would anticipate that the theater would be a grant applicant on the other two possible grants. And I wouldn't want to set up any conflict of interest.
That's great. And yeah, I mean, the last Phoenix Awards were held at Theater Lawrence. It was a great event.
Mary did an amazing job of helping put that together.
Well, I had a wonderful staff helping and committee members.
This is Marlo. I would love to continue with the NEA grants just because I really helped write that grant, and we've been working with Denise looking at the regulations behind it. I'd also be interested in being on the cultural arts grants as well, because I think there's a lot of correlation there. So I, would have some conflict of interest between Art Center, Free State Festival, but I think being able to step away from that and abstain from anything that would make that a conflict, I'm happy to work with others to make sure it's nice and fair and balanced.
Denise, do you want to continue on the NEA as well?
Yeah, this is Denise. Yes, I would like to be on the NEA grant committee. Yeah, because I'm pretty invested now that I've looked at potential local nonprofits. So, yes.
That's great. No, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for the work you're doing.
Oh, no, it's fine.
As I've delved into that, it is overwhelming trying to sort of navigate all of their parameters and stuff. So I really appreciate your help.
Oh, yeah. I do have a question, since I'm pretty passionate about the mural application. Can I be on that public art when
Absolutely.
It's time to look at mural applications?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think if you don't mind, it'll be, I'll grant you permission to be the friendly reminder.
Sure.
Because I think it's, there's a lot happening, but I think, and it might be worthwhile setting up a specific meeting with anybody else interested to just, say, let's just take a look at this and determine what is it that we want to change. And because in my mind, it could be an easy change. It may just be changing the language in some way, but I don't know how complicated it would be. So that might be a thing, is just to have a committee look at it, make a recommendation, and bring it back to the commission.
You're muted.
All right, this is Denise again. Yes, that would be fine. I think it would be just a small fix, in my opinion. Although I had talked to a local artist who happened to also apply for a mural, and he said, as an artist, that, artists may have more difficulty in applying and filling out the application. He thought it was not so much difficult, but different than the kinds of documents that visual artists typically approach and complete. And it, maybe we can simplify it, or at least make a little clearer what the expectations of the committee would be.
I would recommend, having been down that road a few years ago when we made some changes. I like the direction you guys are talking about. I think an internal review by you all, if I could be so bold to make a suggestion on my way out the door, to find some of those gaps, and so forth. And if it is small changes, fine, make those. If it's if it starts to look big, I would encourage you to put together an ad hoc committee that has some of those muralists and community members, because I mean, you guys know this stuff is a hot topic when it starts happening, depending on like where a mural is going to go or whatever. So I would encourage you to, I think we called it an ad hoc committee where we took inputs from muralists and so forth, other interested people, other stakeholders, if you were going to make any sort of sweeping changes to it. It's just my recommendation.
I think that's a great idea.
And I would add that somebody reached out to me recently asking to provide a list of artists who have received city funding with an eye toward equity. And so I think, equity is certainly part of this conversation too. Are we creating something that's really accessible to a wide range of artists as well, which is, I think, what you're getting at, Denise.
Yeah. So how do you think we could obtain such a list?
I need to go back and look. This person has asked for 20 years. I don't know that I can even do that. I think, and we have to remember that the mural, I think there's some confusion that when you all approve murals, you're not funding murals. You're you're doing a mural review for private property mostly.
Right.
So I think that gets confused, that the Art Commission is not funding those murals, is simply reviewing them for the public realm. The Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition is obviously the largest public art program. And then we have the public art projects over the past few years. So I'm going to work on generating that list and we can take a look at it. I'm not sure that that should guide things per se, because I think it's going to reveal that it's been mostly, these have been competitive processes. And so it leans toward experienced artists. That's always sort of the dilemma here. Which tend to favor, honestly, non-marginalized artists, I would dare say. So how do you address that? I think the bigger thing that I've seen in all my years of public art, sorry, I'm jumping on a whole different tangent here, is what sort of programs could exist that could help those artists that are interested in exploring public art and other things to gain experience so they can be more competitive. That's usually where I see the challenge. I just offer that. But that's something to look at for all this.
Okay.
Okay, so for public art, I have Daniel and Dina and Denise. Anybody else on the public art side of things? Jordan?
Yes, I'd be interested. Sorry, I dropped out of the call because of my connection a few minutes ago when we were talking about that. So yes, I'd be interested.
Great, thanks. And then for now on the Phoenix Awards, we have Dina and Mary. And on the Community Arts Grants, Daniel and Marlo, which tie back to the NEA, which is also Daniel and Marlo and Denise.
Porter, should we combine those two? Like, I'm wondering if those two have more synergy than originally we thought about.
D.B. Smith, yeah, that does. I mean, they're both, I think both Community Art Grants and the NEA, those are both big, but it is true that the actual process and everything that's involved is similar, so.
Yeah, this is Marla. What I'm thinking is outreach, especially with both of those grants, is getting the word out to people and reaching out, because I know with the NEA grant, part of it was reaching 20% new organizations, and Denise made a wonderful list of places that may not have applied for community arts grants in the past. And so I think using those approaches for both community arts and the NEA would make a lot of sense. So I really like those being connected.
I think that's a great step forward. Thanks.
This is Jordan speaking. I would be interested in joining that committee as well. If we're combining them, or if we're not combining them, then just the community art grant.
I think they'll be combined in some, I think Marlo said it well, there's synergy here. So figuring out how that works, and maybe they would be implemented side by side or together somehow. I don't know.
Perfect.
Great, thanks. That's actually, I think that's part of the work. It's just sort of determining what's the structure going to be. The only other thing I would offer or ask is we have this economic development strategic plan process. And one of the areas of interest in that is arts and culture. Mary, Marlo, am I leaving anybody else out, have been involved in that discussion along with other people who've been helping with the unmistakable identity realm, including like Margaret Morris and Steve Novak. So that might be another area, just if anybody has interest in that, to speak up now, and we should establish, who would be willing to spend some time to help with that effort.
Would it be continuing as we have been or establishing another committee, Porter?
I think it would be, it's not really a committee, it's just people volunteering to go to attend those meetings and help provide insight and information to that effort.
I'm assuming, this is Mary, I'm assuming that those of us who are already doing it are going to be continuing to do it.
If that's agreeable, it'd be great to have you since you have that continuity. And honestly, I'm going to try to get Britt to take the reins of this a little more. I think for me, we reached a point beyond my expertise. And so my hope would be is that she might initiate a couple of meetings in the near future to help solidify her matrix and work with you all on that, if that makes sense. So, Mary, I have you. Marlo, is that still an area of interest, if you're willing?
Yeah, happy to do that.
Okay. Anybody else?
Jordan speaking. I also attended a meeting. I think the
last one. Yeah, that's right. You were at Theater Lawrence with us. Thank you.
Right. And the learning curve is a bit steep for me, but I would also be interested in continuing that as much as possible. Keeping in mind that my life is a little crazy at the moment, so I might be missing meetings every now and then, but they're not very frequent from what I gather. So I should be able to make those.
Yeah, nothing is set in stone at this point. So like I said, I would anticipate maybe 1 or 2 more meetings with Britt. I'll have to touch base with her. So I'll just keep your guys' names and just let her know that, and we'll keep that in mind. So I appreciate that. That gives me something to have in hand. Thank you.
So Porter, under our Section C role of the LCAC, we have this thing called 2022 priorities and projects. Are we covering that by this discussion, or is there somewhere to dive in deeper to that particular item?
My sense is that that's what we just did.
Yeah. That
this gives clarity as to these are the projects, and if anybody has other ideas, please speak up. But basically at this point, to Marlo's, good comments, this clarifies, here's what we're going to do in 2022, and here's how we're going to do it. And that's what, as staff, I was looking for that.
Great. I mean, we've sort of done that with the Mural policy review and ODSE, and although maybe we haven't touched on the crossing program. I don't know if we need to spend a few minutes on. Yeah,
I can give updates on that stuff. I was going to respectfully request a break.
Yes. How long? 10, 15?
15 is probably, I don't, honestly, I'm not sure we need the full amount of time today.
Yeah, probably.
And again, a lot of this is COVID related. We're still, coming out of this whole crazy pandemic. So if we take 15 minutes, come back and probably finish up.
Great.
Thank you.
See you all soon.
Amen to that.
How, Mary, if I may, I mean, how are you? Is this, what's the effect of Omicron and the increase in cases at this point? I know for us, I think the thinking is we know how to do this, but quite honestly, doing it again under these different circumstances is proving to be just as much.
All right. Well, should we go ahead and get started again? I'm sure Joshua will join us.
Yeah, you know, I realized that the Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition and the Art and Culture Crossings program, there's not a lot to add from last month. I know that Alicia Kelly, who's helping to lead the Art and Culture Crossings program, is doing a great job. She's spoken with 3 artists, and she's hopeful to maybe add at least 1 or 2 more with the budget. She's trying to navigate the waters of what do they really need financially and what are their, you know, concepts. So she's working with them very carefully. We have a meeting scheduled this week, so I'll learn more this week about where she is and what she's doing. And she's doing a great job. And unfortunately, this COVID uptick is affecting, you know, everybody at this point. So we may see further delays. We'll see what happens. And then Outdoor Downtown Sculpture Exhibition, as you all know, we have the 3 artists on board. 2 of the artworks are already out. Dave Lowenstein is working on his, and I need to regroup with him and figure out where we're going to be able to do his work, which will dovetail with Art and Culture Crossings program as well. So that's really all I have at this point. And yeah, with COVID, we're just sort of getting pushed back a little bit, but still moving forward on that. And as I said, I really appreciate Marlo and Denise and everybody that's helped. Jerry also helped with the NEA grant. And obviously, it's going to be important to have that money. So I'm glad we got that. So yeah, I think that's really all that I have as far as updates or anything. Happy to answer questions. Actually glad to hear from Mary about what's going on, because we're obviously not done with this, and I'm guessing other arts and culture groups are struggling in similar ways.
I just wanted to, this is Joshua. I just wanted to say I'm here. I didn't think you wanted to see me eat. So I'm here.
Depends what you're eating, I guess.
Oh, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Okay, well, so next on our list is review the grant application scoring. This topic shows up a lot in our annual discussions, as I remember. I'm not sure I remember what it is that we are wanting to look at here. We did change the way we scored. We changed the matrix, whatever it was, 2 years ago to better support. I think what we were trying to do was mimic what you all had done on the TGT scoring. I think we were trying to emulate that, and I had some changes. I can't remember, it was related to columns versus rows or whatever, and I think we got those in there, and we went through that process right as COVID sort of snatched it out of our hands. So maybe that's just a loose end that needs to be tied up. Porter, is that why this remains on our agenda?
Yeah, and it may have just been held over. And I would say at this point that, I appreciate what we've done as far as establishing these working committees. And so I would say it probably needs to, I think the NEA grant will have an effect on how we decide to implement our grant and the matrix and that type of thing. So I would say that this probably gets pushed to that committee as part of their task. And yeah, happily, I'm really pleased with the transient guest tax grant scoring program that we have. It shows standard deviations, positive and negative. So it provides an opportunity through color coding to actually add discussion to the grant scores where applicable. And so it's not just a matter of saying, okay, this one scored at this level, therefore they get this money, but it allows some conversation. And I would imagine with the community arts grants and the NEA, might be similar kind of apples to oranges comparisons. Although the NEA grant, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marlo or Denise, is fairly straightforward. It has to go to arts and culture nonprofits. So that it's not a programmatic grant, it's a operational support grant. So it's just really just a matter of determining who those are and figuring out the best way to implement that.
I think it wasn't directly just organizational or operational support, but it was also open to programs as well. So I think what Denise and I talked about was opening it up to a combination. An arts organization can apply for operational support, or they can apply for a new program. And that's why I think that synergy between the community arts grants makes so much sense. My question is, how quickly could that committee get off the ground? Because Denise and I talked about, can we start this process sooner than later in terms of timeline, when the grant deadlines would be, when the reviews would be. So is it possible that that committee could meet this month? I know as a commission we aren't meeting because of our annual retreat, but could we schedule a meeting for that committee, since it seems like this is such a timely need for the community?
Yeah, I think that's fine. And especially given that it's probably going to be a Zoom meeting, makes it a little bit easier. I would say go ahead and get something scheduled. And if possible during the work week, I know that can be tricky for some, but that way I could participate as well. So I can kind of track this and make sure that, from a staff perspective, we're moving in the right direction.
I think that's a good idea because, I think as a committee, or at least a subcommittee, that we're going to have to come up with an application for awarding the subgrants. At least, we need to have accountability for ourselves, because we will have to later report how these monies were used, who used them. So from that perspective, I think if we could meet sooner than later, that would be awesome.
Would Thursday or Friday next week work?
Thursday is better for me than Friday next week.
So are we looking at you? Are you saying Thursday, Porter?
Thursday the 20th at 1 o'clock?
So you're talking about a week from this Thursday?
Correct.
Okay.
So that also opens up Friday then. I thought we were looking at next Friday.
Sorry. No, and you know, that said, I just have a pretty packed calendar this coming week. If you guys wanted to meet, but I'm thinking that maybe it'd be good for all three of us, and if Jordan can join us to meet that following week, just to actually, I could meet Monday now that I'm looking at my calendar.
Monday the 17th?
17th.
17th, yeah.
Yeah.
I could do that as well.
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
I wouldn't be able to meet there. I work until late evenings on Monday, and early evening on Thursday.
Okay.
Anytime after 5:30 would work for me, but I can't do a 1 o'clock. That's in the middle of my workday.
So the 17th is a holiday. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah, good point, Denise.
Well, then,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tentatively say yes. I'll still have to check my my second job schedule, but that should work for me then, as long as it's like 1. Yeah.
Oh, are we talking about the 17th? Then if that's MLK Day, then I will be.
Yeah, no, we should probably not do that. Thanks,
Okay.
Jordan, but we shouldn't do that. So Thursday, you said you could be available after what time, Jordan? Thursday the 20th is
After 5:30.
Let's do this instead of trying to do it here. Let me maybe we do a doodle poll. Find a
Sounds
time. Does that work for everybody? Let's do
Yeah.
that. But I'll shoot for that week and see what we can find.
Okay.
And we talked about the economic development and strategic plan. Those people that are interested in staying on that, so we don't need to talk about that. And then the Phoenix Awards, again, I think that goes to the task committee to, and that one's actually fair. If everybody's agreeable that we would really just be searching for an artist this coming year and then plan for the Phoenix Awards next year. And I'm guessing maybe think about, you know, existing and new categories based on COVID survival at some level.
This is Mary. Porter, how will that work with the funding then? Because right now, according to the budget, there would have been 3,000 left from last year and 3,000 for this year.
Right.
So in terms of looking at an artist, and then theoretically moving forward, we'd have 3,000 for 2023.
Right.
So in terms of looking at an artist, would our budget for that artist be 3,000 or 6,000? How much carryover can there be?
Yeah, but conceivably you would have $6,000 budgeted for the Phoenix Award for 2022 if that budget adjustment goes through. So you could apply that to the artist. I guess you could also try to have a Phoenix Award program. You could actually do both. That's what I'm saying is you know, I'm just basing this on the structure that we have currently.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think that's TBD. But yes, you'd have $6,000 budgeted for the Phoenix Awards.
It'd be a nice amount to make nice awards.
Right. So if we had that amount, though, I guess my question is, so this year we would get the artist, and then the actual awards would go to 2023. Correct?
If we stay consistent with what we've done in the past, yes. But I don't think that's you know, locked in stone. So there's room for conversation of, you know, what anybody might want to do. But yeah, that would be the you know, the general idea at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sort of gets us through the agenda. Are there any miscellaneous items or topics?
B. Smith. Yeah, I'm curious. I think I actually asked Porter about this a little while ago, but I am curious, since we do have members who are leaving the commission, I'm curious about trying to get some new people to join. So I'm curious, Porter, if you're able to tell us at all if you've had any applicants, and whether, and I guess just in general, I would like to encourage people to reach out to those in the community who they feel like are a good representation of the community, especially from an equity mindset, and try and fill some of the vacancies just so that we don't shrink too much.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. So if anybody knows of somebody that might be interested in serving, the first step is always to have them apply. And I'm going to share my screen. So if they go to this page, this is our board and commissions page. They can scroll down and find boards and commissions here. Click on that link. There's more information about boards and commissions. And you can actually click here. There's a link that shows vacancies. I'm not sure ours is updated at this point because we do go through this month, but you can see it here. And then, whoops, sorry, it's hard to navigate because there's, okay, going back. But then there's also a link here, whoops. Oh, this is all, sorry, this is also to volunteer. I apologize. I thought there was a separate link. So if you click on that, it shows these vacancies, and then you can actually apply for a board here down toward the bottom. You just have to scroll down after that link, general board application, and you hit this button that says create, and that will give you the application that you fill out. Everybody that wants to serve on a board, they have to do this. And then this is what the mayor reviews to determine possible prospects for different boards. So if you know anybody, please share that. And I'll share this link with you so you have that information and can share it with folks. So that's the first step. And then different mayors handle this in different ways. And I have not spoken with Mayor Shipley yet to determine how much information she wants to glean from the boards. Typically, the board chair can make recommendations based on candidates. So, I think that's something she may reach out to you, Daniel, and ask for your opinion on different candidates. I don't have those candidates in front of me, so I don't know who's currently applied or not. So like I said, if you know folks who are interested, think that they would be strong on this board, please share that information and ask them to apply.
Okay. Anything else? Any other miscellaneous?
This is Marlo. I wish I had a mimosa to toast Jerry and Joshua, and I'm not sure if anyone else is leaving, but I thank you both for all of your time and energy. I've learned from you so much through discussions and humor, and I'm going to miss you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jerry and Joshua and Christina are all leaving the board. Their term limits are up. And I would like to agree with Marlo. You guys have been terrific. It has been a real pleasure. Gosh, I started reminiscing and we've been through a lot together. And thank you so much for, staying with it and doing such a great job. Christina couldn't be here today, but she also has been fantastic. And I really appreciate all you guys. And so yes, a toast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your great service. And I'm sure we will continue seeing you in various capacities, but you will certainly be missed.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Joshua. I'm still looking for that phone number, but I'll text you as soon as I get it. I'll text you.
All right, deal. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody too. It's always been my favorite thing in my service on any and all boards and committees is to just meet wonderful people and work with terrific people. It's been better even than the work itself, is getting to know the people of the community and see and learn and grow. And then eventually find some even further opportunities in the future. It's always really exciting. So I just want to thank Porter too, Jerry, Marlo, Dina, everybody. And everybody who's been, Kate Deneen has been extraordinary. I miss all of those folks too. So, you know, it's been a pleasure. And I look forward to encountering you in the future. And Jerry, you may get that number soon.
Fingers crossed, buddy. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I try to say it at the end of every meeting, but I really appreciate each of you and the fact that you donate your time to our community to do this, and appreciate your passion for arts and culture in our community, and looking forward to seeing what you all do going forward. So. All right. I think this brings us to the end. So I would make a motion to adjourn.
I think it's only fitting that I second that, right? So
Agreed.
I second.
All right. And I think we can just all in favor say,
Aye.
see ya. Bye-bye. Take care, folks.
You too.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.